My name is Billy, and I'm 13 years old now. My true story happened when I was 10. My little sister Cindy was 6, almost 7. We lived in New Haven, Connecticut, not far from Yale University where my mom worked. It's a nice enough area, or at least we liked it until this happened. Our neighborhood has a lot of older houses. Most have old people living in them. There aren't a lot of kids for us to play with, but we do have a really nice park with swings, slides, basketball hoops, and a tennis court. It's where all us kids meet up after school and on Saturdays. Sometimes mothers come with really little kids. However, at almost 11 and Cindy almost 7, we were allowed to go on our own. Cindy and I always walked to the park and home after together, but when we were there, we did our own thing. I usually hung out with my friends, sometimes playing tag, or if someone brought a football, we'd make teams and play touch football. I was really fast, but Tommy could always catch me. It was a blast in the park, and we ran our asses off. Cindy and her friend Molly usually played with dolls. Sometimes they were out in the grass practicing cartwheels or cheers. They both planned to be cheerleaders when they are in high school, but mostly they were in the shelter playing house with their dolls. They always had their dolls with them. Cindy had Chelsea, and Molly always carried Skipper. Skipper had a purple streak in her dark hair, so Molly also had a purple streak in her hair. She made her mom put it in her hair every day, even on school days. Chelsea is blonde and has the same hairstyle as Cindy. She always dresses in pink, so Cindy mostly wears pink too. They are crazy girls and love playing with their Barbies, but that bores me, so I don't pay much attention to them. On this day, I'm running scrimmages with my friends, and Cindy and Molly are skipping rope near the basketball court. But when I looked over at sunset, when we were supposed to head for home, they were nowhere in sight. I asked the guys if any of them had seen Cindy and Molly. Tommy said he saw them leave 2 hours ago with an old lady. He wasn't sure, but he thought it was our grandmother, so he never said anything at the time. I said, my grandmother lives in Florida, and Molly's grandmother is in New York and never comes to New Haven. Sam said it was that old lady who lived in that big house at the end of the block. He had seen her before talking with the girls in the shelter. I said, I know that lady. She is a nutcase. She should be in the loony bin. She dresses like a Barbie grandma. Everyone laughed in agreement. It was true. She always dressed in a pink skirt and shirt, wore a pink hat. She had pink shoes and a handbag. She dyed her hair blonde, which was super weird because she was like 70 years old. I mean, she had the blonde hair of a 17-year-old, but her face was as wrinkly as a prune. Come on, I said. Let's go get the girls. Everyone said they had to go home except Tommy. He said he would come with me, and we all could then walk to our homes together because it would be dark soon. We walked to the house at the end of the block, and it was mostly dark inside. I knocked on the door and then rang the doorbell. We stood for a couple of minutes, but no one came. Tommy suggested that we walk around the back and check the back door. When we got there, the back door was open, and a hall light was on that led to a parlor room. We were shocked when we entered. The room was entirely pink. There was a small children-sized table that was pink, set with a pink teapot and cups and pink napkins. And at the table sat Cindy and Molly, dressed in Barbie doll pink clothes. But the girls did not move, and their heads just hung as if they were asleep, sitting in the chairs at the table. I went into the room to shake Cindy, and Tommy was right behind me. Then the door to the parlor slammed shut in a loud bang. We turned around, and there stood the old lady holding a long knife. Perfect, she croaked. 2 Kens to keep my Barbies company. We are having tea. Sit down. I looked at Tommy, and his mouth was wide open. She screamed, sit down. I grabbed the teapot, which was actually filled with very hot tea, and I threw it at the crazy lady. She moaned like the witch from Wizard of Oz when Dorothy threw the bucket of water on her. This lady didn't shrivel up and die. She raised the knife over her head and charged right at me with it. I ran around the table, and Tommy darted for the door and flung it open. We both ran out the back door we had entered. The old lady screamed, "It's tea time!" We ran for home where my father was sitting in the kitchen. In a panic, we told him that Cindy and Molly were being held captive at the crazy lady's house near the park. He called the police, and we three ran back to the house where the girls were still sitting, unmoving, at the pink table now set with cookies. Dad tackled the old lady and took the knife from her hand. As he was holding her pinned to the floor, the police arrived. The girls were rushed to the hospital where their stomachs were pumped. It was found that they had been sedated with a tranquilizer that they had drunk in a glass of pink lemonade found in the kitchen of the Barbie woman. The lady the whole time just kept shouting, "We are just having a nice tea, my little Barbies and me. It's tea time." She was taken away, and we have never seen her again. The scariest moment in my life was a near-fatal tragedy that still haunts me every time I see a Barbie doll. My little sister still carries the scars. This frightening story took place when I was 8. I'm 29 now. My wife and I have a little girl who received her first Barbie last week, so this cautionary tale resurfaces in my life. I nearly panicked when it was presented to her by my wife's mother on her 5th birthday. Our little Lucy was immediately enamored with the gift. When I was 8, I wasn't particularly a great big brother to my little sister Izzy. She was 2 years younger, and being a girl, she and I had no interests in common. She was a pest to me. I always had to give in to her because I was the big brother. Mom and Dad insisted that I let her always have her way. She got her first pick for every treat. I had to let her watch her cartoons on television on Saturday mornings. Stupid Dora the Explorer and My Little Pony. I wanted to watch Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But I always had to give in to Izzy's tantrums or have Dad scold me that Izzy was younger than me and needed her space. Her choices were necessary. I should be more cooperative, blah blah blah. I was sick and tired of being last to get my way. I wanted nothing to do with her. Well, Izzy was well attached to her Barbie. Her Barbie accompanied her everywhere. She had more than one Barbie doll. She had Midge and Skipper and a Ken doll. She had the Barbie dream house in her bedroom. It was nearly as tall as she was. It was literally like 3 feet tall with 3 levels. Izzy also had a pink table in her room where she would host imaginary tea parties and serve her Barbies cookies that she ate. At night, her Barbies slept in the dream house, except for Barbie herself, who slept with Izzy on her pillow. I wasn't allowed to touch it. The dream house was strictly off limits. But sometimes Izzy asked me to play with her, and I could be Ken. However, that never turned into any fun. Usually, it became a screaming match because I didn't play right. It wasn't because I was trying to be a bad brother or anything. It just always turned out that I was, and I always got punished for not playing nicely with Izzy, who always tattletaled on me. I finally gave up trying to be a good brother. Mom and Dad always took her side. I was always in trouble anyway, so why not just do what I wanted? The house turned into a war ground, with me finally exerting that I was the big brother and she had to do whatever I decided. If I was watching cartoons or playing my music in the living room, she could sit and watch or listen, but could not change the channel. I'd yell back at Mom and tell her to get Izzy out of here. She is bothering me. I became a beast. Well, that didn't work out so great. Dad would send me to my room where I would fume for hours. One day, Izzy and I had a huge battle while playing on the front porch. I had set up all my play soldiers in combat positions using Mom's potted plants as forts to defend and attack. I had a couple of battle tanks in position to cover my soldiers' advances, and I was having a great time as the field commander. I even had a shirt with real army insignias on it. Then, Barbie drove her pink convertible through my battlefield, knocking down all my soldiers. I was so angry. I yelled at Izzy, "Get out of here, I don't like you." Izzy shouted back that she was going to tell Dad that I was not nice to her and I was going to get into real trouble. I exploded. I grabbed her Barbie and held it above my head, which Izzy could not reach. She started kicking me, screaming, "I want my Barbie!" I said, "No, I hate your Barbie." Izzy was scratching me and kicking me and all the time screaming, "I want my Barbie, give it back." I said no and ran off the porch and down the sidewalk. Izzy was running after me, screaming with tears, "I want my Barbie!" I hid behind Dad's car parked on the street, but Izzy saw me and came at me with her fingernails scratching my arm. I flung her stupid Barbie as hard as I could into the street, and Izzy bolted after it screaming, "I want my Barbie!" The next moment was the most terrifying moment of my life. It erupted in screeching tires, metal on metal of brakes fully depressed, the high-pitched shriek of Izzy before the unmistakable thud of metal hitting soft flesh. I watched Izzy's small body compact with the front of the car, recoil, and fly 10 feet, landing on the black asphalt. I stared in complete shock as a pool of blood spread around her twisted little body. I could see the bone of her leg jutting out of her skin. I couldn't recognize her face from the blood. Dad was running from the porch, yelling to Mom to call 911. The driver exited his car saying, "She came out of nowhere." Dad and the driver compressed Izzy's wounds, trying to stem the blood flow as distant sirens of a rescue unit left the fire station at the end of the street. It was on the scene in minutes. I stood frozen, terrified I had killed my sister. I was crying, standing alone. Everyone was around Izzy, yelling for anything to stop the bleeding. Dad pleaded with Izzy to stay calm, saying everything would be all right, but I could see she wasn't moving. She wasn't making a sound. Her eyes were open, but I didn't see her blink. The rescue paramedics had her in the ambulance, racing to the hospital in minutes. Dad and Mom were following in the car of the driver who struck her. I was alone. Standing on the curb, our neighbor took my hand and said, "Don't worry, all will be well." But I didn't believe her. I heard the crash of the car hitting Izzy. I listened to the bones break. 4 days later, Izzy came home from the hospital. I gave her the Barbie that I had retrieved from the street. It took her 6 months to recover. She still walks with a little limp, and there is a scar on the left side of her face. But we are the closest of friends and will never be separated again. Barbie sits on the shelf, still in her room. Hello, my name is Amy. When I was a child of about 5, I received a Barbie doll for Christmas. I remember how excited I was. It was a dream come true. I spent the next several days combing her hair and dressing her and all the different outfits that came with her. We quickly became inseparable. I talked with her and she spoke back to me. Not really, but in play. We had long conversations and we developed a close relationship. The Christmas holidays passed quickly and very pleasantly for me with Lila. That's what I named her. I know all the Barbies' real names, but I wanted to call mine Lila. I don't know why, but that's what I did back then. Well, New Year's Eve came, and I didn't even know what that was, but my mom and dad said they were going out to a party and that I would have a babysitter. Lila and I watched Mom dress in a sparkly dress and put on makeup while Dad went and picked up the babysitter who lived a couple of miles away. I didn't know how far, just that it took some time before he returned, and Mom looked like a princess when he did. They left, and Angela and I played with Lila. Angela was the babysitter. She couldn't hear what Lila was saying, so I told her. After a while, she said it was time for me to go to bed, and she took me to my room and read a bedtime story. She said she left the nightlight on, as Mom always did, and went back to the TV room, which was down the hall and above the garage, to watch a movie on Netflix or something like that. The TV room was also my playroom. You can't hear anything else in the house when you were there. I liked that because I could play my Barbie movies really loud, and Mom wouldn't even know. The rest of the house was dark, just the light from the TV that Angela was watching, and that room only had one window that faced the backyard. My window blind was closed because the shadows from the front yard tree always scared me. One light was on in Mom's bathroom at her cosmetic table, with a window facing the backyard. From the front of the house, it was dark. Well, once Angela was watching TV, Lila said she was wide awake and wanted to dress like a princess. I said, "That's a good idea, let's go play dress up." So together, we went into Mom's bathroom, which has her dress closet attached, and picked out a beautiful dress with sparkles, like the one Mom wore when she left. I set Lila on the cosmetic table, stood on the chair, and got out the makeup. I put on lipstick and blush and mascara. Lila said I looked like a princess. As I admired myself in the floor-to-ceiling mirror, I heard glass breaking. I walked in Mom's high-heeled shoes to the balcony banister that looked down into the entry hall of our house. An arm was reaching through the broken glass of the door window and opening the door from the inside. The door swung open, and 2 men dressed in black burst in. Lila whispered, "Don't move. Don't make a sound." I stood looking down into the entry hall from my darkened position at the balcony railing, holding Lila. The only light in the entry was from the outside street lamp, but I could see the men in black carrying white pillowcases. Even at my age, I knew they were burglars. They looked like the villains in Despicable Me cartoons. Lila looked at me, and I knew she wanted me to hide. I left the shoes and tiptoed back to Mom's bathroom, where my favorite hiding place was in hide and seek, the laundry hamper. Even though the light was on in the bathroom, I was hidden in the wicker basket, and I could see through the basket, but no one could see me. I could hear the men approaching, and I could tell one of them went into Mom and Dad's bedroom and was making lots of noise, ransacking the room. The other man in black came into the bathroom and was tearing through Mom's closet. He took Mom's jewelry box that was still on the dressing table. Lila was saying, "Stay silent. Don't move." The man moved around the bathroom and closet. I nearly screamed when he kicked the laundry hamper, but Lila kept saying, "Quiet." The burglar continued to empty drawers and everything in the medicine cabinet he threw on the floor. In 5 minutes, he was gone. I heard the other man leaving Mom and Dad's room. I stayed in the basket, talking with Lila, telling her how afraid I was. She said, "Don't worry, just stay here until Mom comes." Mom and Dad returned from the New Year's party in an hour. The front door glass shattered and the door wide open. Dad called the police and ran upstairs shouting my name. I said, "I'm here with Lila in my hiding place." He came in and carried me downstairs. "Where is Angela?" he asked me. I said I didn't know, she was watching Netflix in the playroom. Dad ran back upstairs to the playroom and Angela said, "Oh, you're home. I didn't hear you come in. How was the party?" She didn't hear the burglars or the bedroom and bathroom ransacking. Lila and I were the only 2 who saw the burglars. I was lucky I had Lila to keep me safe, or who knows what they would have done to me.
Subscribe